Take it away.
Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your hosts, Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost and host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, joined by my big brother and yours, host of Season Gaming's Bitcast, Mr. Ainsley Bowden.
That was the fastest you've ever done that intro.
That's right.
Racing away.
Well, we're late because of me, because my computer was all weird. So I'm a little antsy.
Yeah, all good. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to our final Cast Co-op of 2021. And actually, guys, I think it's my final show of 2021. So looking forward to just chatting about games and then going on break for a little while.
Yeah. It's going to be nice. We are joined also by the host of The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, Mr. Joseph Moran, a.k.a. Mr. Badbit. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing okay. I had a root canal, and I'm still feeling it.
Are you really? Still?
Yeah.
How long is it?
Yeah, the anesthesias are wearing off, so I'm a little loopy.
Yeah, a little loopy.
Yeah. Hashtag uncensored, but I'm fine. Hey, I got a question for everybody.
Yeah, man.
Do you guys do this thing where, like, I have a list of games I'm going to play with this break? Like, here's like 5 games, and then you don't play any of them?
I usually get to about 2 of them.
Yeah.
2 of them. What happens is I have a thing that I'm going to play this and this and this, and then I get to the break and I'm like, no, I want to accomplish this and this, and that's what tends to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to put I feel like all year long we're putting like these arbitrary expectations on ourselves to finish games and to attack backlogs and play certain games. And so since this is like my biggest break of the year from work and everything else, I try not to do that. And I just I play whatever the hell I want day in, day out. And then if someone recommends something really good that I haven't played, I'll check it out, which I did with the Forgotten City just starting this morning.
Nice. As content creators, we get a lot of pressure on ourselves from our communities to play and respond to X, Y, and Z game. And that is hard to keep up with when you're a solo operation or you're time limited or whatever it is. That's always tough to do, I think.
Yeah, very.
I've also been kind of like in a non-gaming-ish mood. So I'm just like kind of just sitting back, relaxing, catching up on some things I should have watched. You know, like right before, like just came off of watching Witcher Season 2, which is pretty darn good so far. So, yeah, like, I'm also in that type of run as well. I also want to watch Spider-Man for the 3rd time, getting that urge.
We just wrapped up Hawkeye. We've got Witcher Season 2 and The Expanse Season 6 that we're sitting on for sure.
Did you see, not to change subject, did you see they're making a Telltale Expanse game?
Oh, yeah. They saw that at the Game Awards. That's so cool.
Oh, I missed it. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, starring Drummer, who is a fantastic actress. The actress's character's name is Drummer. But I was listening to What's Good Games today. Coincidentally, they brought that up. And that world, The Expanse, is so cool.
It's awesome.
And this, because it's the last season that they're doing, it's probably the only way we would get a game from them in any reasonable time frame would be a Telltale game. So I'm really excited to see that for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. But no, I've been doing a lot of TV as well. I've been watching The Rookie with Nathan Fillion. I don't know why. I'm just like binging that as I do stuff or whatnot. That's been fun. That's been a good time just to like chill with. But yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes you get burned out on the games.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I played a really good wind down the holiday or wind down the year type game in the Gunk. I know a lot of people are getting mixed reception on that one. I loved it. But it was the perfect game to calm down with after this like huge run of big games that in my mind started with Back 4 Blood. We had just had big game after big game after big game. Whether they hit or not is debatable, but like we had everything from Back 4 Blood and Call of Duty and Battlefield through to Infinite and Forza, and it was just a lot of intense stuff. So it was nice to play a chill game.
Yeah, I was literally thinking about what if Horizon actually dropped in November. I'd be destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I was happy when it got delayed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, as much as a bit of a bummer that is, it's just like, yeah, it gave me so much more time to go enjoy things. And then with the shadow drop of like the Halo multiplayer, it's like, how was I supposed to juggle between these two?
Yeah.
So.
That murdered Battlefield. If Battlefield had any life in it, Halo killed it. You know?
Well, Battlefield is like, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with it. We've talked about it before, right? It just seems like that game fell completely flat. Yeah. And it's just floating out there with a lot less players than they hoped it would have.
Yeah.
I mean, the fate of a lot of games, they're pressured by upper management release before they're ready, and then they just languish and die a slow death. I mean, here's hoping that team is able to recover. I know Andy McNamara, the former Game Informer guy, is over there.
Yes.
Um,
Well, they just did that whole reorg too with Vince Zampella and Marcus Lato, and yeah,
it's gonna be a story to watch. And then you have to wonder what everything at EA is weird right now for all the allegation stuff, for all the consistent workforce issues that are going on, and then they do this big reorganization. What's happening with Titanfall, with Apex, with Battlefield? Zampella is only one man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does his transition to full on leadership still allow great games to be made? I'm curious to know how that pans out, but I'm worried for all the franchises there.
Sure. Well, Luke, listen, this is supposed to be this end of the year show. I don't want to harp on Battlefield and kick it while it's down, man.
Why? It's my game of the year.
Oh, is it?
Is it?
No,
well, look at you.
It's definitely not. No.
Well, gents, because it is the end of the year, I'm sure we'll have a little game of the year discussion here, talking about some of our favorite gaming experiences from the beginning of 2021 through to now. Of course, this is going live Christmas Day, actually. Ains, if it holds on Friday, right? We're recording this on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's going out tomorrow. Oh,
yeah.
I see what day it is today. Okay. I thought today was Wednesday. The whole day I was thinking it was Wednesday.
Well, if it was Wednesday, then why would tomorrow be Christmas?
I don't speak Spanish. You're screaming at me right now. You are absolutely shouting.
It was the tone that did it. I apologize. That was a microaggression, and I feel bad.
That's right. You learned about that.
I 10 minutes ago just learned about it.
Well, gents, a short exercise real quick is to think about your 5 favorite games from this year, games that released in this year on the console of your choice. No grandiose discussions and debates and arguments as to what the absolute best game of the year is, because I find those exhausting. You know, when It Takes Two wins Game of the Year awards and then other games get, missed out on and there's not a clear-cut winner, that brings about different types of discussions. So start me off, either one of you, one of your favorite games this year. Tell me about it. I want to ask some questions here.
Do we need some order?
Yeah.
Like, are we doing like 1 through 5 or 5 to 1?
Nah.
Or?
Well, I don't need that. The ranking system is exhausting to me as well. So I was just, let's talk about our favorite games from this year. That was really what I was hoping for.
All right.
Yeah. I think this year was like the Joe didn't know he liked this game or this genre this year. So I want to first give the shout out to what came out in January and still remained as one of my games of the year, which is Hitman 3.
Yes, great game.
It's on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, man.
Mine. It was on mine.
It's so good, and I feel like in so many outlets it got robbed for best level design because that game, just the way how, I beat the phrase to death, but it really is a puzzle game designed as a stealth game, and they do a really great job of changing little simple things in the world or the environment changes the way you're going to play that level from start to finish, whether it's just like spawning in the front gate or spawning in like some cellar dressed as like a waiter, like hiding an explosive token in in a wine bottle, stuff like that. Like, man, there's a lot of ways to play it.
Yeah, they introduce new things after you've beaten it once, which I think is a really cool element of replayability.
Yeah. And none of those levels really felt stale. Like, even playing, there's one level in Italy where, like, it's a beautiful, like, winery, and I literally played that one level for, like, 3 or 5 hours. Like, it was just, like, constantly playing that one because I just loved it so much. I think the only level that I didn't like was the last level, which feels very non-Hitman-ish and more
the train?
The train, yeah.
Yeah. I felt the same way.
Yeah. I was just like, well, now you gave me all the guns, but like this game isn't really a shooting game. Like,
yeah,
it's really about like I in the beginning it's like, oh, I'm just gonna find the perfect sniping poach, but really after a while it's like, I'm gonna poison this dude. Actually, I'm gonna poison all these bad guys. Like they're gonna like run over a tripwire and all explode. I love that game so much that I went back to Hitman 1
Yeah.
Hitman 2, and then beat Hitman 3 again to then get the platinum in it. That's how much I love Hitman 3. So
That was one of my favorite things about it was you could play the old levels in the new version and updated physics and such. That was a really cool thing they did.
with no cost, no extra cost.
Yeah.
So like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that sounds pretty neat. It's like, I think like some of the games are like 80% off, like Hitman 1, 2 are 80% off. So go out there, buy it, please. For the love of God.
I know that's Dan's like favorite game of the year as well. He adores that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. It's creative. It's fun. It's you get to feel really empowered and cool or very silly depending on how you want to play.
Yeah, you
I love
can dress
games
up
where
as a giant chicken and kill people.
you absolutely can. One of my favorite levels was you were at like a Formula One race. And that was a really fun one was to go through. I don't know.
That must have been a 1 or 2 because I didn't play that
2.
one. 2. Okay.
Was it in 2?
I played. I'm one of those weird people where like I played Hitman 3. I beat the whole game and I haven't played it since. Like there's people like you guys who have gone back and played 1 and 2, and I see other people who haven't played it at all. And I'm like, well, I played it fully, but haven't done anything else with it.
So when that game came out, I bought Hitman 1 and 2 and played them for the first time to get to 3. And that's how I went. I went mission to mission, which was really cool.
That's probably what I should have done. Yeah.
It was neat to see the studio like learn as they went. You know what I mean? Like that was cool to like play it start to finish there. Hitman 3, good choice, man. That was on my list as well. I think I have like 8 games that I picked out just from the year. My favorite. That was one.
We've all got plenty of games, Luke. Jeez.
What was your what was one of your favorites, Ains?
Let me talk to you about this little game called Biomutant.
Jesus Christ!
You asked for it. You asked for it.
Well, you're right. You're right. 9 out of 10.
All right, go ahead. You gave it a 9. You gave it a 9.
I did give it a 9, infamously, apparently.
I gave you Game of the Year a 7, so oops.
You said the game that won the award for best narrative has too much talking, so that's where we are as a critics group here.
They never shut up.
In all seriousness, I'll keep it short, but I've talked about Biomutant enough. Just love that game. It is it is a big game, a lot of customization, a lot of kind of looting and exploration. So I know these two guys didn't really get into it, but there is a smaller group of people who really did. Funny enough, a thread broke out the other day about it on Twitter. So if you enjoy like just kind of being in a big open world and kind of doing your own thing, exploring and looting and crafting, especially, there's a lot of looting and crafting, a lot. Maybe check it out, especially considering you can get it pretty cheap now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Would you call it the Breath of the Wild of its genre?
It's way better than Breath of the Wild.
Interesting.
Luke, your pick.
A lot of my games were front loaded, but I'll try to go back a little bit earlier in the year with Resident Evil Village. Great. I really liked that game. Yeah. I equated Resident Evil 7 to being Alien and Resident Evil 8 Village to being Aliens.
That's actually I like that analogy. That's way better than the analogies you usually make, so that's good.
That's not true. If an analogy is understood by the audience, it's good. That's how that works. But no, I really liked that game. I thought they did a good job of showing us the Resident Evil world. They had a lot of different environments, elements, and when you went from one area biome within that universe to the other, I really liked the different like themes. You were in a mansion, then you were in like a swamp, and you just traversed through each one. I liked it too. That was really cool, and it was cool to see the actress for Lady Dimitrescu.
If you pronounce the U in the game, they say Dimitrescu.
Yeah. Either way, it was cool seeing her get some recognition as well. But I really liked that game.
Yeah,
me too. I really enjoyed it. I reviewed that. I either gave it an 8.5 or a 9. I think I gave it a 9, and I thought it was really good. In my opinion, I like your comparison of Alien and Aliens because Alien is technically the better film, but if I'm gonna watch one of the two, it's gonna be Aliens. Yeah, and that's kind of how when you said that, that's good because that's kind of how I feel about 7 and 8. I think that 7 as a horror experience is a better game, but I like Village as better overall, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. I still need to get back into it. There was something just not pulling me in, but that's maybe during the break game for me.
How far did you get? Yeah, I was saying, how far did you get?
Oh, I got to the part, like, not far at all, guys. Like, she was chasing me around the mansion, so like
You're
maybe
early.
3
And
hours
you
in,
just
right?
replay, yeah, very early. So you just
Yeah.
played that over and over again. That's what
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
I get it.
He kept stopping to see if she would sit on him, you know?
Yeah.
It gets really cool, man. There's like a
I
level
let her
where
lift
you're
me up, is all I'm saying.
Oh boy.
Like I was a little baby boy.
Oh man, it gets weird too. That game gets really weird, but
Very.
it's fun.
Very.
It's fun. I will say, the last level in that game is completely different than 95% of the game prior to it.
Mm.
It's like jarring.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually the thing with Resident Evils, though, right? Like they usually really like they're like, oh, this is really great, and then they're like, last like level is just like, hey, this we didn't stick this landing.
There's some weird Resident Evil choices, and
Yeah.
Capcom reminds me of Ubisoft, and like you don't know which team you're gonna get. You don't know which experience you're gonna get.
Fair
You're
enough.
either gonna get the Assassin's Creed Origins, or you're gonna get Ghost Recon Frontlines or whatever. It's like I don't know. But yeah, it was a weird ending to a great game. So I really liked that one for sure.
Okay.
All right, so we've said Hitman, we've said Biomutant, and Resident Evil Village. Joe, you're up, man.
All right, man, I wouldn't be the host of the trophy room for nothing if I didn't mention a little game called Returnal. What up? What up?
Yeah.
That's my personal game of the year this year. And for the reason that is, I feel like I figured out why I like to award games certain like things in my mind, like higher than the other.
Mm-hmm.
If a game has got me in a genre, that is top tier game to me. Like I'll always be thankful for that game. So like I think of Bloodborne that got me into the Souls games, and I revere that game because of it. And that's why I revere Returnal, because all of a sudden these roguelites that I never really got into, well, this kind of opened the door in such a way that I got heavily invested. So to me, though I'm gonna say something pretty crazy, Haynes. When the game launched, it didn't respect your time. Adding that save functionality to it, yeah, adding that save functionality to it has definitely, if you're playing it right now, you're going, oh wow, this game is something else. This is a really fun ride, because to me, it's Housemarque at its best. So it is a bullet hell. It is action packed. It is very, not to say unforgiving is the easy way out, but I'll take it in the sense of, you know, all your movement matters. Every shot, you know, you need to make it count. And when you make a mistake, it is clearly on you. I love that about this game. While at the same exact time, the story, and I gotta give a shout out to Jane Perry. She won our best actress award, and I accidentally edited that portion out of the goddamn show we did because I'm bad at editing. But she did a fantastic job of doing a one-person show. Like there is no main antagonist. You're just following this person as they are trying to get the hell off this planet that keep dying and keep reliving, and they don't even know how much time has actually passed in this world or how much time she's been on it, because when she dies, she wakes back up. When she falls asleep, she wakes back up. That type of stuff. So the story is really interesting, and the acting is just stellar. Like there are parts where she picks up a recording of herself, and like she doesn't even recognize who's talking. Like
because she's using like voice inflections and such.
Yeah, it is the inflections of her voice, the panicness, or sometimes just the eerie calmness of it. Where it's just like, and like she'll have points where just like, what is this Celine even thinking about? What is she talking about? Mm-hmm. Like there's one note she picks up 2 hours in the game where you're like, what is she talking? And then literally you'll be playing the game in like Biome 5, and you get it, and you're like, oh my god, that's what she was talking about. So it's a really awesome really awesome experience. It's a really interesting story that I think for the first time, as a Housemarque, this is their first AAA game. Really, in some aspects, to me, out Kojima with the weirdness that you were somehow on board with because the ride was so fun. So, Returnal, I got to give it up because it did so much right with Housemarque's first ever AAA game.
Yeah, I'll just back you up. I love the Returnal. It's in my top 5 of the year. It's actually kind of tied at 5th. But I love that game. And one thing you kind of commented on a lot of it there. The only thing I would say is to add to that is I really liked it because I'm a big shmup fan, a shoot 'em up fan, excuse me. And that game is like a 3D shoot 'em up. It really relies on a whole bunch of fast reflexes and learning your enemies and movements. As Joe said, every movement and shot kind of counts. And I just love that about the game. It's a very challenging game, but at the same time, when you die, it's your fault. It's not, it's just very polished. So it took what Housemarque does really, really well and moved it into that 3D story told space fantastically well, in my opinion. That's not an easy thing to do. And they not only did it well, but it also makes it, to Joe's point, very unique. It's a very unique game. And I just hope more people play it, man. I love to see that Housemarque got acquired by Sony this year because they are a fantastically talented studio, and knowing that they're going to have kind of that funding and support from PlayStation now, I can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that, too, like anybody struggling on a boss is don't think of them as boss fights. Just think of it as a shoot 'em up. That's how I like kind of divorce my brain from it all. Was just like, this is not like a Souls boss. This is not like our typical boss fight. This is literally thing in front of me, shooting a whole bunch of bullets at me, dodge the bullets. That's it. That's all we got to do. And once I got that down, the boss fights were not just easier for me, but way more fun. Shout out to the 4th boss, awesome. The organ boss, which was, I think, part of like Jane Perry's just like acting chops of like, you're hearing this distant sound, the song that you've been hearing parts of up until that point, and Celine is being driven more mad the closer she gets to it, and irritated and just frustrated, and you just hear it all, and it amounts to what is, to me, a fantastic freaking boss fight. So
yeah, you said that after the update, it respected your time a lot more, and that's very similar to what I've heard about it, and that's one of the things I like about living games. I'm curious, do you think the game should have, or tell me if it did, get a re-review by outlets when it comes to something that's so important as respecting your time?
That's a good question, Luke.
Yeah, because I
reviewed it, and I had an instance because I was playing it right when it launched, of course, and I did have an instance where I was about an hour and a half into a run and the game crashed, and I was like, oh god dang, but I didn't really hold that too against. I think I mentioned the issues in my review, but I didn't really hold it too against it in the scoring. But that's just the way I review stuff. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. So it's a good question.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. Cool. So we've added Returnal to the list there. All right. Ains, what's one on your list?
Staying with the theme of beginning of the year, Little Nightmares 2. Little Nightmares 2 was the one that I tied with Returnal for 5th on kind of my overall. Little Nightmares 2 is a obviously sequel, goes without saying. If you haven't played Little Nightmares, really fantastic game designed in the kind of limbo and inside kind of theme, but more focused around horror and more focused around, well, not more focused, but kind of touches on like some mental health aspects as well. And Little Nightmares 2, in my opinion, is the better game. It took everything one did well and just amplified it. The cinematics are absolutely fantastic. The scripting is amazing.
Graphics?
And the graphics.
Does it have cool colors?
And not a lot of colors. No, not a lot of colors. So I did dock it 4 points for that. So the most I could give is a 6. But it's just one of those games that just like it hits you in a certain way, and as you go through it, just like the first one, you get to the end, and there's this culmination of events and sequences that just absolutely incredible. Did conversation with some of the guys we know, Mo and Pampa and Jordan and everything, and all of those guys have it up there on their top games of the year as well. And it's another game that I wish more people would check out and appreciate, especially considering you can finish the whole game probably in 6 to 8 hours, something like that. It's not super long, but it's really impactful. So
that's what she said.
It is that game's so interesting because you don't see a horror platformer. And
right.
like I was playing the demo of it, and I was just like, this game is freaking me out. It's unsettling. So I am tempted of picking that up because I think it's on sale as well. I think it's like $19 at the moment. So yeah, definitely, definitely check it. Look,
please do. Yes, so worth it. So
I downloaded that on your recommendation, Ains. I still haven't played it yet, but I bought it on your recommendation. It's just kind of one of the games that slipped through the cracks for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely play it, guys.
Yeah. How about you, Luke? You giant piece of shit.
Let's see. I want to give a shout out to Chorus, which is a recent one. I really, really liked Chorus. I was looking forward to it, and I was predisposed to enjoying it because I enjoy like space combat games, starfighting games, and they're rare. They're not something that really pops up on consoles anymore. But this game surprised me with its quality. I was expecting to like it because I'm interested in the genre.
Yeah.
But in fact, the game stood above its peers in that genre and really just stood out to me as a really high quality game. It's for Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X. I can't remember if it's on PC or PlayStation at the moment, but it is. It's
on all platforms.
Okay, good. Just a great game, and it surprised me. And your character is almost a Jedi with the powers they give her, and so I was quite seriously playing out this Han Solo mixed with a Jedi starfighter element because you do a little of both, like a little bit of the the roguish elements to it, but it was really fun, and I liked it a lot. I hope more people check it out because I feel like it came out at towards the end of the year when spotlight's on Halo and Forza and any other AAA. It kind of just flew in under the radar, but I really like that game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Flew in under the radar.
I see. That's another one that I'm thinking I need to pick up soon, because I miss those games, man. We don't get them anymore.
Yeah, and it's
we really don't. Yeah,
no, it's good.
So yeah, I need a good Starfighter back in my life. Also, if speaking of Starfighter, I'm already hearing the family talk downstairs because we have the Christmas tree, and we legitimately got a Death Star instead of a like a star you put on the Christmas tree, and they're bickering downstairs because they can't fit it on the tree. Oh my god! All right, let's 1 sec. Let's talk about Metroid Dread.
Okay.
I love Metroid Dread.
Luke, did you play Metroid Dread?
I did not. That came out right in soccer season.
Okay.
So you guys know I'm not a Metroid or Castlevania guy.
Yep.
Always.
Shame on you, by the way.
Shame on me. I was 4 years old when Castlevania Symphony of the Night came out. Okay. So because of that, I missed out on what I've been told are practically perfect, if not perfect games.
Super Metroid. Perfect.
Yeah. So for me, Metroid Dread is kind of me course correcting. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to finally know what people say when they're talking about a Metroidvania with this game. I don't know if it's going to be for me or not, but I got to give it an honest try. And the one similarity that when I talk about Bloodborne and like From games, it's just like, oh, that truly is like what a modern day, Castlevania type game would look and feel like. And I totally get where people are coming from with that comparison now, having played Metroid Dread, because though there are some clunkiness to it, like I don't think the map needs to be that convoluted.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. And there are some things that are imperfections. Like, after the 5th Emmy that you fight, you're kind of over them. But there's just so much fun challenge to it. And just the gameplay systems themselves just feel so good. And the boss fights are just man, some of the most fun that I've had in a really, really long time. Like the second to last boss fight, the one thing that I really like about each boss fight, if you time something perfectly, you get this cool cinematic where Samus does something completely badass and it hurts the boss like a shit ton. There's one cinematic, usually they're fast, they're like 5 seconds tops. There's one cinematic where you're riding this thing and you're just shooting it in the freaking head like over and over again while it's like climbing up this like just spiral. It's incredible. Samus is such a freaking badass. Everything she does is badass. Yeah, it's a lady. You believe it? I know they allowed it.
I heard they ruined sci-fi.
Yeah,
that surprise there is another aggression.
You know, her arms are a little bit too big. But yeah, no, I loved this game, and this is like coming from someone who jumped into this series. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just in it for the ride, and dude, I loved it. Every power up felt like a really cool little moment, and so give a big shout out to Mercury Steam because Nintendo doesn't want you to know they made this game.
Yep, sure.
It's stellar. It really is stellar. I love it so much. There you go.
So I beat it as well. I didn't review it, but I did beat it. And I really enjoyed it as well. I'm not as close to Joe as I was with Returnal, where we both just, overly love that game. Dread, I'm very good game, but I'm like, eh. And the only reason I say that is that it's funny, Joe, because hearing you explain it, right, it's kind of the fascination, again, showing my age, is the fascination me and my friend Sean had when I was 6 years old or 7 years old and played Metroid on the NES when the original came out. Because to your point, there hadn't been a game like that. Every time you find a power up, it's like, ooh, it's like a Christmas present, right? And then you know that you can go somewhere else that you weren't able to go before. And that kind of makes you able to explore. So I really enjoy this game. I think it's very well tuned and polished. To your point, the boss fights are fantastic. I really like the last boss fight because it almost felt, again, almost like a shoot 'em up. It was so intense.
Dude, the things that I had, and it's one of those things too. I love a boss fight that seems impossible when you're first looking at it, and then when you beat it, you're like, yeah, I did that. Like that sense of that dopamine hit's always great.
It's like a Souls boss, right? It's like when you first fight some Souls bosses, you don't even scratch them. And you're like, how am I ever going to beat this guy? And then after, eventually, however many tries it takes you, you can get to the point where you beat him without even barely getting hit because it's all pattern recognition and things like that. And these games are the same way. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It just, there's two things for me. One is it really was just another 2D Metroid game. And that sounds bad, and I don't mean it that way, but meaning like it didn't really do a whole lot new that I haven't seen in Metroid before. The Emmys were like the new thing here, and after you face the first one, it's like, okay, you changed the color and made them move faster. Like, that's literally it. So that was kind of boring to me. And then the other thing was it's just being the Switch itself, and this is kind of a slight against the Switch, but when you go from games that we're talking about here, whether it be Forza or Returnal or even games like Far Cry 6, where you're used to the Series X and PlayStation 5 now, or Series S, and then you go play Metroid Dread, it feels like you've gone back in time 2 generations. Gameplay's fine, but man, just playing that on like a big screen, the sound is weak, and the graphics are, it's 1080p on its best day, and it's still not even high-res textures. You're just, I don't know, man. It's just, I really wish Nintendo could put forth what I would call a AAA Metroid experience again.
Hopefully they do. They do.
I feel like having not played it, it feels to me like Dread is a AAA experience. It's that the hardware is just too limiting.
Yeah, it really is a continuation. If you go back and I haven't played them all, so I'm no expert, but it really is a continuation of the DS series of Metroid. I mean, that felt like a portable game, and that, again, not a bad thing. The game's great, but there is a definite difference in the experience you're getting from a technical perspective.
Yeah, I definitely, I can see where you're coming from.
That may be because I'm a tech heavy guy. Like,
Also, you said your third problem was with this female protagonist.
Yeah, what was that about?
On the post show, you're very.
That was before the training I just took.
Oh, okay.
I'm better now.
Totally.
I'm better now.
Oh boy, I
Luke
love
Luke
Metroid.
needs to take it next.
Yeah.
Jesus. I love Metroid. Like, oh, that is one of my favorite franchises in the
Clearly,
gaming
as you
verse.
haven't played
However,
Yeah.
however, my holdup is that Metroid Prime is nowhere in sight, and I simply don't want to play games on my Switch. It's underpowered. It's tired. That's really what it is. Is that I have so many other options to play top tier stuff. I mean, when I play xCloud on my tablet, it looks better than a lot of the Switch display elements.
Sure.
I mean, not in the art style of the games. I just mean like in display. And so, I think that's been my holdup. But I will play it at some point. I need all the Metroids to be available there. Like if you buy a Switch right now, you can't play half the Metroid games, and that's very frustrating to me.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they did a DS collection of all those games, the Metroids that came out, the 2D ones. Just put them all in one collection.
Oh yeah,
it'll be $900 from Nintendo, but at least you'd have the option.
Also, and I know this is crazy, and you couldn't do it, but man, if you made them all widescreen, that'd be great.
yeah, you're talking crazy.
2026, Joe, maybe.
Because here's the thing: I tried to play Castlevania. Y'all didn't tell me this game, like Symphony of the Night. Y'all didn't tell me this thing had a fucking dash mechanic. I'm in, or dodge. I'm in. Like I literally played 30 minutes. I was like, this is fantastic. But I have this OLED TV. I see this stagnant art, and I'm like, I'm gonna get burned through on this. I'm gonna turn this off, and maybe I play this on a portable device.
That's frustrating.
I don't want to burn my beautiful TV for this game.
It's a PS1 game. It's old now, man. Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
25
I'm glad
years
you
old.
played it though. Yeah, it's been a long time. Whose turn is it?
It's Ains.
It's Ains. Yeah, Ains, you're up, man.
It's your turn, sir.
What game can we all talk about? So you said Returnal, Little Nightmares. You got Biomutant out of the way. So, I'll go ahead and talk about it since I'm wearing the shirt. It's Psychonauts 2. Because again, I don't think either of you were big fans, or at least didn't get into it yet. So Psychonauts 2 is it was my game of the year until Halo, which I know we're going to talk about at least briefly, right? This game is remarkable in a lot of ways, and I know it's won some other kind of full outlet game of the years. It's been recognized. It got snubbed at the Game Awards, but it's won a whole bunch of awards from different outlets since then. So good to see the game get recognition. I think it continues to be. You can correct me, but I think it continues to be the second highest rated game of the year, behind only Forza, from a Metacritic standpoint or OpenCritic standpoint. But just fantastic. It's a large game. The creativity is unmatched. In fact, I don't think I've ever played a game as creative in my life, and that's a lot of games we're talking about.
He had a long life, man.
The level design and it's nuts, man. It's absolutely nuts. Every level you get to, it just goes a step further, and it's hard to believe that it keeps being that good all the way through. And then I've touched on before that it touches on a lot of different mental health aspects, like not just like one specific thing. I kind of not criticize, but that's what put it above like It Takes Two for me, is that It Takes Two deals with kind of one thing directly head on, and it's just very surface level in my opinion, whereas I think Psychonauts 2 does a much better job of being not only more witty in its writing, but also tackling multiple subjects in one game. So it's just fantastic, man, through and through. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, just because it didn't hit for me, which I get, I every time I'm like, here's my games that I really like this year. People are like, where the fuck are your Psychonauts, dude? You Sony pony piece of shit.
They always pick one or two games, and it's like, I didn't want to play them. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not into it. What do you mean you're not into it? But you're into Ratchet and Clank. I'm like, yeah, I have like an emotional attachment to it. When I was a child, I don't have that to this. Oh, okay.
I will say, I think Psychonauts 2 is a better game than Ratchet and Clank, but
probably
that doesn't preclude you having a love for Ratchet and Clank that you don't have for Psychonauts. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
And either though I didn't love my time with Psychonauts, doesn't mean that I can't see past what I didn't love about it and still appreciate all the things it does do for mental health. And yeah, the extremely strong character development that each one of the characters has when you're literally jumping into their brain and understanding their deepest fears. Like the level design is absolutely top notch from what I've played, and yeah, it's awesome to see Double Fine get a win because they are a incredibly talented studio. So seeing them being purchased by Microsoft and right out the gate putting out a really stellar experience, awesome.
Which I've said on other shows we wouldn't have gotten if Xbox didn't buy them.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Schafer has said this game would be very different. You know, it would have come out last year and it would have been half the game we got.
Yeah.
So,
and I do want to say, just like the Activision Blizzard employees, I think that this game got snubbed as well at the Game Awards because it deserved to be recognized way more than what it was. And I actually feel like
nominations, right?
5.
Yeah. I feel like this year, this is another topic, but like this year we really saw the blemishes and the true problems with that award show in its entirety.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to fix that shit.
85 million people watched it. I think now that he's gotten enough notoriety, he should be commanding a little more.
Which
I don't know what the right word is.
I don't know if it's surprising or not. If it surprised you guys, we don't have to stay on this. But 85 million, as you said, but it was 83 last year. Yeah. So he's seen exponential growth every year. But this year was only 2 million more than last year, despite all the premieres and everything else he championed. So, you know, diminishing return, I think, at this point.
I also wonder, and it sounds so weird, but in our medium, people are very quick to turn on you, and I wonder if people aren't just sick of Jeff Keighley. And I see so much rhetoric, but also Twitter is a weird space. You know what I mean? Like, so
yes,
you know, maybe that's not the case. I don't know. Is he a factor in that? Is it because it's his show, his face, whereas it's not like a couple people?
I think it plays into it. What I definitely feel like it needs to start being, and hopefully next year we see this, is he's not the host.
Yeah, I think that's time for that. That's a good point.
He's a host in all these things. I think it's time for someone else to do it, even if it's just another old white guy up there. Just go for it. A different host every year, revolving.
You always got to take it to race, Joe. We got to work on this. I've got a trading I can help you with.
Yeah. I feel like that's a microaggression that you just threw at me. But no, seriously,
like 3 or 4 hosts.
Sure.
Kind of rotating through.
Yeah, kind of bounce around.
Right. Like you could have a Greg Miller and then you could have a Jeff Kanata. And then so I don't know, I'm picking random people, but like you could put 4 or 5 people up there and have them rotate through.
Yeah.
Which I think would be better in some cases, but you would need to find people that appeal on multiple levels. So it's not just a generic white guy and it's not just token X person, whatever it might be, because that's been something I've seen a lot in the last 2 years is as the industry attempts to course correct, they call in the same names for whatever niche they're trying to fix. And that is something I want to see change as well.
Absolutely. And those faces don't say anything.
You're right.
Just don't.
Different
just
topic. Different topic for a different
topic for a different day. I get it. Joe's too spicy for this one. I get
it. Quick shout out before we keep going. Joe finally got his chair, which means Ains, while we didn't get ours given to us, we are all rocking Secret Labs now.
Secret Lab.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We're now a sponsored show. Is that what we're saying?
Well, you're sponsored.
Guys, question about these chairs.
Batman chair.
When's the break-in period? Because this foam is hurting my bum a little bit.
It does.
It's just like
it's a pretty stiff chair. Yeah.
Like,
that's what you want for like long periods of time.
Yeah, you don't want to sink
in. I'm just like
for work.
Yeah, I'm like I need to get up.
You can't say that. We're sponsored now.
I'm sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah.
A 5 out of 5. I've never been more comfortable. And my ass hurt before I got the shit.
I would love to be. I want to be offered a sponsorship deal for a show. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
You know, and then I can like decide if it's with my morals to go with it or not. Like, does this represent me as a person? Could I read this and feel good about it? I want to have that internal monologue.
Let's be honest. You have that already.
Yeah. I do have that already. That's true.
All right. I had one person offer me money to sponsor some, like, here's an app where you get to talk to like people about what you do, and I'm like, it's called Twitter? Discord. You could just jump in with Discord. That'd be great.
We do get sponsored guest posts all the time at SG. Like people like, I'll pay you if you put this article on your site.
Yeah.
No.
Forza Horizon 5. Forza Horizon 5. Critically,
Our highest
best.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, please.
No, you were going to say it, critically the highest rated game, and I was going to say the first game I gave a 10 to in 3 years, excuse me.
Wow. Biomutant was close, but here we are.
No.
Forza Horizon 5, man, what an accomplishment. And it feels to me like more than any other Forza Horizon release, this game got a lot of love outside of kind of the same old fans that it might have had prior to.
Yeah.
Yep. IGN's game of the year. Overall game of the year at IGN, which is huge.
Yeah.
They're the biggest gaming company in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Activision Blizzard King employees snubbed at the Game Awards. That really should have been nominated for Game of the Year. There was no reason why it shouldn't have been. Like winning sound design, like when that won sound design, I was like, yep, those cars certainly can rev. That's great. And like when it won accessibility, I was like, yes, absolutely. And it's like it's winning every category it's in. And I'm like, well, why isn't it in the game of...
Well, you already touched on it. The process is broken.
Exactly. But no, awesome. I had such a blast playing it. Of course, I did what I always do with Forza. I played it for a few hours and I kind of tossed it aside because Halo multiplayer came out.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have played, that game is just stunning to look at. And the multiplayer is just so much dumb fun with your friends. Like that zombie infected mode or like the little like King of the Hill mode. Mm-hmm. All of them. They have Capture the Flag, and it's so much fun.
It is.
I loved it.
Way more fun than in Halo, because God.
Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
Yeah. They actually have playlists in Forza. Isn't that nuts?
I just want to sue people. That's all I can do. I don't want to coordinate it all. I just like people.
I absolutely love Forza Horizon 5 for the diversity.
Is that your mocking voice?
I don't know what that was. I have no idea.
I love how I'm gonna ignore this because I don't want to go down this road by accident.
What the flag? I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know.
Ains is like, if it's Halo and it's the same mode I played 25 years ago, that's what I want. That's it.
You're the one asking for deathmatch.
Yeah, the one that we all want. Nobody wants to play Oddball 15 times in a row. But anyway, they fixed it. Right?
Okay. That's okay.
All right. Forza Horizon 5. My favorite part about it was just how comfortable it was to get into a car and go. And when I say accessible here, I don't necessarily mean in accessibility options, but the game is just super playable. You can get in any car and go have a good time. You can go to multiple different environments within the Mexico map. It's just... It lets you play the way you want to play, and it rewards you no matter what you're doing. So you constantly feel a sense of progression. Joe, I bounced off of it in light of Halo Chorus, and there's one other Gunk just hitting back to back to back. But this is a game that when the next expansion comes out, I know I'll be back in on for way more time than it takes to play the expansion. To me, this was just an achievement of a game. And when I look at the Xbox catalog, Sea of Thieves is doing incredible numbers right now. Master Chief Collection recovered. This is one of those games that kind of falls into that living category now.
Yeah.
Whereas other stuff is kind of a one and done for in some cases.
And isn't it like 11 million players in the first week or something crazy like that?
I think it was over 10.
Yeah, it passed 11 million, but that was like a few weeks back. So who knows by the time holiday rolls through. Yeah. I loved it. I mean,
dead in the water, you know.
Like I reviewed it. I gave it a 10. I think it is the best overall racing game ever created. I mean that sincerely, and believe me, the time I have in the racing games is absurd.
It's old.
That and cars are my second passion behind video games. So they've always been big in my group of friends. Like I literally remember Gran Turismo 1 being like a religious awakening for us. Like you have no idea how big that game was, GT1 and 2 to our group of kind of car guys. And Forza Horizon 5, I think when you look at just all the racing games that came before it just does nearly everything better than any other racing game. Like you can race realistically because it's got a lot of what Forza Motorsport under the skin there. You can race just for fun. You can play with friends. You can collect cars if you want. It's got a beautiful map. It just does everything. It's an amazing game, man. So glad so many people are playing it. Glad it's winning awards. I think it won another Game of the Year award today from another outlet. other
Nice.
than IGN. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's
I'll
awesome.
do a little research. Let me do a little research.
Yeah, it got listed somewhere. Let me find it. So
I'm
anyway.
glad to hear that more people are getting are just waking up to this franchise, because it's long since been an unkept secret that it's a fantastic franchise. But also, Playground's getting a lot of love right now, and that's awesome. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think we keep. Sorry.
There you go.
I was going to say, as everyone's been saying, just think about what they're going to do with Fable, man.
Yeah.
Can't
Seriously, that's.
I have a lot. I'm not excited about Fable, except that it's a AAA game, because I never liked the first.
Here we go. Luke's got to be that one.
No. Hear me out. Because I didn't have an Xbox when Fable first came out. When I got a 360, I got it to play games like Gears of War, and so Fable just flew right by me. Never interested, and they're tough to go back to. I did try to go back a year or so ago, so I'm excited for it in the sense that this is going to be my true introduction to the franchise, and I'm curious to know how just what they do, because Playground is so good at it. That's what I was going to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, so G4 gave Game of the Year to Psychonauts. Game Inform was Halo. So yeah, I don't know which one it was, but anyway.
Joe, pick a game, brother.
Oh, it's me. I thought it was Ants.
No, I was Forza.
Oh, okay. Then let's just talk about the Breath of the Wild in the room.
Let's do it. It's a
good comparison, Ains, and I feel like you just got to let go.
I got to be honest with you guys. At this point, I can't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
I can't give a shit. I'm so
I don't know
bored
why
of
you
this
gave a
argument.
shit in the first place.
Yeah, why? People understood it, and the comparisons make sense. They all make sense.
If the shoe fits.
So here's one question I'll ask you in all seriousness, right?
Yeah.
I felt like the comparison was only being made because long-running franchises, open world. So, but that doesn't tackle all the other aspects of what makes Halo special and what Zelda did wrong for a lot of hardcore Zelda fans. And I think that's where I was having trouble, in that when you, as we all know, because we've talked Halo for a month now, Halo Infinite captured a lot of the essence, I'd say best yet by 343, right? Of what made Halo CE special, a lot of homage and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot, I don't know if you guys are hardcore Zelda fans. I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I grew up playing Zelda. I've played Breath of the Wild, but I'm not hardcore, right? Whereas people like Mo, people like my buddy Bird, there's a lot of people I talk to who are hardcore Zelda fans who pretty universally agree from the conversations I've had that Breath of the Wild's a good game, but not a great Zelda game. And that's, I think, where I was really struggling, just because Breath of the Wild and Halo had open world. I felt like that was just a weak point of just saying, okay, they both added open world, they're both revered, and it's just like, that's just
so. I don't think it starts and finishes there. Like with, and I'm not being snarky, but you have two games that were stale, two franchises that were stale and with mixed reception on prior versions. They were desperate for reinvention. They got reinvention that still paid homage to where they started. You have a protagonist that is, in some cases, very easy to relate to because he doesn't say much. In some cases, very difficult to empathize with because he doesn't say much. You have a female kind of counterpart, one way or the other. You think about the AI Cortana or oh my gosh,
Zelda.
Thank you, Jesus. And you have that going on, different elements of explorability, and both games I think are extremely playable to people that haven't played them before, easy to understand, and you can do a lot more with the game, almost to go anywhere, fight your own battle, make your own story. Then
that's where you lose me, because Breath of the Wild is a Zelda game where the open world, right, and they're not dungeons, the shrines, right, the shrines and the other things you do by going to different biomes, going to different cities, right, are an integral part of the game, like a lot of open world games, right? Mm-hmm. Halo Infinite's not that. Halo Infinite, literally, if you want to play the Halo campaign that you've played for 5 games or 6 games if you count ODST, is the same as it's always been. There just happens to be this middle segment that has an open world with other sandbox activities if you want to. And that's where I really struggle with just saying it's the Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild is a Zelda game that cannot be played like a lot of other Zelda games, period. It's a very different game from most Zelda games. I mean, it's not the first open world Zelda game either. Wind Waker was an open world Zelda game. But Breath of the Wild has to be played using the open world. Halo does not.
So this is a semantic problem, because what you're saying goes well beyond the need for the analogy. Like,
that's fair. That's fair.
That's the difference, I think. Like, really, I think that's the difference.
I'm good. And this is where I'm going to go back to my word that you guys hate. That's why I feel it's lazy, because it's easy to say the Breath of the Wild. On the surface, you're like, okay, it does these things. But I'm saying Breath of the Wild, it has to be played a certain way as an open world game. Halo does not.
I don't think being efficient is being lazy. Like, that's not the same thing.
Because like when like, because I could say, and it's like, and I, you know, when we had our Halo talk, Mo came to me. He's like, "What do you mean, like, the God of War comparison is lazy?" I'm like, because at the end of the day, all these comparisons are lazy. It's like a really easy out instead of fully diving into what this game is, right? So like, the only reason why. There's two reasons why people don't like the Breath of the Wild comparisons. One, it's either you don't like Breath of the Wild, or two, it's just used too much. Kind of like, oh, this is like Dark Souls describing a hard boss.
Breath of the Wild and Souls comparisons are just worn out.
They're tired. And I understand it being tired.
They are easy for people to get.
Yeah. Exactly. But like, the comparison stands because it's easy. It's easy for people to wrap your head around of, like, you know, because I could get to the semantics of why Halo Infinite is not like God of War, 2018 whatsoever, but it helps people understand, oh, this is reinventing this main character and how we see him and how we see this world, and the story that's being told is going to be much more personal and grounded.
That's why I think the God of War one's a good one.
Yeah, but when I see the Breath of the Wild one, I'm like, oh, okay, so there's these two franchises doing something drastically different, but yet also inheriting so much of the same that makes those franchises, great. And they both play with their game physics in unique ways that we don't see in open world games. So like, that's why I understand that comparison. I'm totally fine with it. I also really don't care much for comparisons. I use them on the podcast so that people understand a concept, and that's what comparisons should be doing in the first place.
I generally agree with you, and I think we're actually more common ground than we like to goof off about most of the time. The only thing I'll add to that, right, is that for me, Breath of the Wild, and I've been very vocal about my, Breath of the Wild impression. Yeah, and it's more joking than ever. I mean, I said, I put 50 or 60 hours in. I not only finished Breath of the Wild, but I did the extra stuff too. Like, I have the Master Sword, I did all that extra stuff. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it. And, it is a very good game. It's just, we talked about this last Casco, right? It's not the game for me. It's just not my favorite game. But I think Halo Infinite got a lot of press about being open world. And I think now that I've played the game literally twice, all the way through, right? I think the open world aspect of Halo Infinite is overemphasized, because really all that it's doing, right, is, again, I keep saying sandbox, but the Halo sandbox is special and unique, and it allows vehicles and weapons to play out a certain way. And really, I've said this before, is that Infinite is really the 2021 realization of Halo CE. Yeah. When you first landed on that Halo ring, and it was a big open space, and you could fight enemies in different locations and stuff. It's just much broader now because they have the technology to do it now. But the game, like, when I hear it's an open world game, I'm like, it's not really an open world game. And I think that's where I struggle.
Well, I want to address that because I just today finished up a crit path run on it where I just did the game on Legendary, and I only did the missions. Okay. By the way, came in 30 minutes over par for that achievement, so I have to do it again on easy.
Oh, damn.
That's kind of bummed. But in crit pathing it, it felt very traditional Halo, but there were moments where in order to get to the next mission, I had to traverse vast areas of open world, which is very dangerous to do on Legendary when you don't have Spartan cores and all the extra stuff that you would get as a reward for exploring the open world elements, right? So that was a very stressful situation, but it showed me that this is very much two games in one, with one of the games being underdeveloped, being the open world aspect. So I do think it's been overemphasized that it's open world, but I don't want to go back. This is exactly what I want from my Halo, with the exception of perhaps a jump to mission. I wouldn't mind that for those that are interested.
Yeah.
I think they'll probably add that, don't you?
I think it's absolutely coming. I think that is going to probably arrive at the same time they do co-op.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
And to me so I'm not a big fan of the open world. Like I could take it or leave it.
I loved it, Joe. Like the idea of putting a sniper rifle and being a sniper in Halo, and then equipping different weapons and going and dropping vehicles in, and like you can load up your Razorback with all missile people or drop a Scorpion. Like the idea that I could just play. Armando.
Yeah, like one thing I did right is I got the upgraded rocket launcher. I forget what it's called now. The Seeking launcher or whatever. And I was literally like the top of a mountain, right? Like the very top. And I just jumped down, aimed straight down, and just, started shooting rockets out. I'm like, this is amazing. This is what I've always wanted out of Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I think it's, again, I talked a bit about it. It's like capture little bases, capture big bases. And I like to do just something else. That just... And it sounds like a big critique. It's a small critique. Anybody else sounds down.
No, the internet's gonna think you hate it.
Exactly. I hate it, but like it is literally one of my games of the years. Like it's probably like 2 or 3 settled. Mm-hmm. Anyway, nonetheless, I think where it strides is it's narrative. It's the the linear levels that I feel like capture the essence perfectly of what they had with CE. Now there are some problems there, like they put seeds in the back of the room instead of the front of the room with the power, but like that's fine. It's typical stuff. That story is really special, and if you're a big massive Halo nerd like Lore, you're gonna really love it. And if you appreciate Halo, you've been on the ride but not as much of a story geek, then you're really gonna love it as well. Like it really is a special game. They've done a lot with it, and I commend 343 because you literally, to me, have made so far, this could change in 3 months, the best Halo since Halo 2.
I think it is the best Halo.
Yeah. And to me, it's like everybody walking out of the theater going, man, Spider-Man No Way Home, best Spider-Man movie. But then you're like looking in the corner of your eye, I'm like, Spider-Man 2, I don't mean that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like that created so much. So I just, for me, it's like Halo 2 is always a go.
I think it's funny you say that about Halo 2, because Halo 2 was one of the 2 games from Bungie that very heavily criticized when it released.
Yeah.
People did not like Halo 2. The fact, again, wait,
Arbiter.
You mean I'm not playing as Chief? What do you mean? And let's not forget, if Halo 2 was made today, we're on Halo again. But if Halo 2 was made today, can you imagine the articles that Schreier would be all over about the game being cut? And you know what I mean? Like, they cut a huge chunk of that game out. It's well documented. And it's just so funny when I hear people talk, including myself, about their love of Halo 2, because that game was rushed out. A bunch of it was cut. The story was changed. You don't play as Chief for half the game. Like, it's just hilarious that people look back to Halo 2 as the GOAT.
One of the things I recently learned is that there is one of the cut levels is a almost complete level as well, was one where you're fighting a Guardian, which would have really changed the reception of Halo 5.
Very cool. Very cool.
Interesting.
But
Halo Infinite sucks, and Resistance was always better.
I want to praise the acting in Halo Infinite real quick.
Go for it.
Because I just loved Jen Taylor's performance, Steve Downs' performance. The writing, I thought they did a very good job with the writing.
Yeah.
To clean up a lot of the mess that the universe was. It was just very scattered as a universe across its mediums. They did a lot to combat that. Plenty of things you can critique in it, but I mean, it's really cool to see a first-person shooter, one that was so much maligned as Halo 5, recover with a Game of the Year candidate. And in my opinion, my Game of the Year. I loved it. I was so happy for this.
And I'm just so happy that everybody is having that feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think 3-4. The fact that
also
shut that dog up. Shut that dog up.
Shut that dog up.
What is that?
I'm calling the police.
Man, this mic is sensitive. Wow. Shut up.
Hello, officer.
The fact that so many people with a game as divisive as Halo, both with campaign and multiplayer, it's brought so many people together and new people to the game. 343 just crushed it, right?
Yeah.
Going back to your acting comment, you know as well as I do that this game's going to be forgotten at the Video Game Awards next year, which is going to piss me off because of the stupid timelines. But if Jen Taylor doesn't at least get nominated for her performance on this game for playing Cortana and Weapon, and she plays a third character as well, Halsey, right?
Yeah. Well, kind of.
Yeah. Well, she better be nominated because the Weapon is my girlfriend, and all of you need to back off. Thank you.
Whoa.
It's
Okay.
like the fourth one.
You want to tell your wife that as well?
Really
She's very well aware. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling Sarah Bond.
Your wife's like just at the dinner table with like just a bottle of red wine. Going, well, a hologram? You're saying this woman's a hologram?
Technically, it's not cheating, honey.
You don't understand.
She's not real.
Right now, she's about to like sip the rosé. She's like, I married a fucking child.
This is not a new realization for her at all.
Speaking of marrying a child, today my wife is sick right now, and so I had to do a bunch of errands and whatnot.
Right?
And
Speaking, he said, only Luke could segue from speaking of marrying
my
a
friend
child.
Ted in the next room is about to hop
so
in.
I go,
what are you doing here?
You're ruining the punchline. Now we've built it up for nothing. No, I went and did all these like helpful errands, helping get the house ready and whatnot. And then when I felt like I was done, I was like, all right, I'm going to go build my 2,000 piece Pelican at the kitchen table. And I'm sitting back here building friggin' Legos.
Mega blocks.
Mega constructs. That Pelican build, 2,000 pieces, is dope. I'm loving it. It was supposed to be done, but I had to go do the chores. See that little space for it next to the Banshee?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have upstairs in my son's room is still the original Mega Bloks Pelican from Halo 4, maybe?
That's cool.
Yeah, we built when he was like 6. It's on one of his shelves. Yeah.
I have almost all the infinite ones. I have the turret and everything, and like I'm gonna do like a thingy for it. But I will say there's a 20th anniversary pack that I can't find without paying $100. Dear Mega Constructs.
Oh shit.
Let's see. We've talked about 5.
My game of the year, by the way, too. I didn't just say that clearly. Halo Infinite is my game of the year too. Yeah.
So we have said Hitman 3, Chorus, Halo Infinite, Forza, Resident Evil Village, Metroid Dread, Little Nightmares 2, and Returnal. Anyone else have a game they want to mention or talk about?
Gardeners of the Galaxy is really good, and you guys should play it.
It is very, very good.
It's a 7 from what I heard.
I honestly think it's getting more praise than it should. But I was surprised by how many Game of the Year candidates it was for people. I was very glad, and I do think I underrated it. I would have gone to an 8. I think.
Yeah. The whole cast needs the recognition because they all do a stellar job at just portraying these characters in a familiar yet their own way. And it really is one of my favorite comic book games. It's just fantastic. Go out there and play it.
I've heard nothing but good things, really. I haven't played it, so I can't comment. But I've heard nothing but good things. I was going to say we should probably at least shout out It Takes Two. Yeah. Takes Two, fantastic. You didn't like it, Luke?
No, he doesn't have any friends to play with.
No interest. No, I was thinking about this today. It's weird because I have no interest in Joseph Ferris's work. I've played Brothers, and then I didn't
like No Way Out at all. I thought the game's writing was juvenile at best.
Yeah.
But No Way Out.
All
Way Out, first of all, is the right name, and then but It Takes Two is really, really good. It really is. It tackles marriage and relationships and things like that, but the kind of star of the game is really the level design and co-op play. It's just a fantastic platforming and co-op play, and it definitely deserves at least a shout out.
Okay. So we shouted out Guardians of the Galaxy. We shouted out. Oh my gosh, we just literally
Guardians.
I feel like I'm forgetting.
Well, we've got Death's Door and the Gunk were the 2 that I wanted to shout out.
Really, the Gunk? You like it that much?
I'll address it to say that I really did like it that much, and I've seen a lot of people on the internet agree and a lot disagree, which surprised me. I would have thought it would have gotten a lot more praise than it the people that are like anti-gunk surprise me. Like the game's not bad at all. It's very playable. It's enjoyable. It's relaxing. So even if you don't like it, like there's nothing to dislike in it. I was very surprised by some of that because it didn't feel like it should be polarizing. Like, oh, you're either into it or you're like, not my thing.
That's exactly where I was. I'm early in the game. I've only played a little bit. I'm on chapter 2 or act 2, whatever they call it, and I'm just like, yeah, this isn't pulling me in, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's just not doing anything for me.
See, to me, that's a rational response. Like, there's literally nothing wrong with it. I was surprised by people that were like, ugh.
Yeah, well, you know how that is, right? It's either a 10 or trash. Yeah, so I'll shout out real quick the Forgotten City. I literally started it this morning, but it's on a lot of people's kind of surprise game of the year list. I've seen a lot more people as they play it start talking about it, and so I downloaded. It's on Game Pass, by the way. I installed it, started this morning at like 9 a.m. when I got up. I literally couldn't put it down at all until 1 p.m. when I had to go do other stuff. But and I'm like thinking about it throughout the day. It's really, really engrossing. Luke, I made a joke in our chat about it, but it is mostly just talking. So if you don't like that, yeah. But it's like, did you like Outer Worlds where you talk to people and kind of like try to figure out what's going on and answer, you know what I mean? Like it's like that. And it's got this really mysterious story and you're talking to the people in this city trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And it's just very engrossing. So I'm very curious to see where it goes. Apparently it's got 4 different endings and like a lot of big twists. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. But I know like Mo, Jordan, Pomp, all those guys, they like have it way up on their game of the year list.
Cool. Big shout out to Life is Strange True Colors.
I want to play that.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I'm really liking the cast of characters. Also, I know this doesn't, matter to much, but Alex Chen, she's my wife, and so is Steph in the game, also my wife. And
you've had honestly, a lot of wives lately, man. You gonna go Mormon on us?
Well, guys, I actually got pamphlets if you guys want this. Actually, funny enough as well, we got what's the Church of Latter-day Saints, right? Yeah,
that's Mormons. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, are they? No, are they?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. There's actually a church in my town of them. They
wait, the Latter-day Saints is not. That's not what
I don't know. I don't know.
Whatever. Like they go around with the pamphlets constantly.
And you've been taking them, obviously.
Yeah, I mean they make a lot of great points. Who needs birthdays?
Right. Yeah, LDS is Mormons.
But yeah. Anyway, go play that game. It's really good. And yes, it's story driven. It's exactly going into those games. I'm not expecting anybody with a gun walking around. It's just a nice little chill experience that I'm really digging. Also, here's a game that has violence. That should be a segment. That sounds like a segment.
I'm looking up the highest rated games just to see what we forgot.
I've noticed we haven't said Deathloop yet.
Deathloop. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
I was gonna say Hades though. Shout out to Hades.
Hades is so good.
So came out for consoles this year.
Yeah.
So it's not a 2021 game.
Sooner, wasn't it?
PS4 and Xbox this year, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or PlayStation and Xbox.
And as a guy that's never had a gay thought, that main protagonist, what's his name? Staz? I'll forget. Very attractive. Everybody in that game's hot. It's just like
I'll touch on Deathloop.
Those cartoonists were horny 24/7.
Yeah, no doubt. But that's most of the stories of those old gods. It's nothing but sex and violence. I mean, yeah. Deathloop. So I know Joe and I both reviewed this one. Got it early, and it's just a fantastic game. God, I love Arcane. I just love this work. It's very unique. Art style is great. The acting by what's the name? You interviewed him, Luke, didn't you? The main actor, or am I imagining things?
For Deathloop, I did not talk to Dave Fennoy.
No. Kelly, Jason Kelly, isn't it?
Jason Kelly, yeah.
Did I interview him?
Why did I think you had Jason Kelly on? I'm sorry. But anyway, Jason Kelly was fantastic in that game. And I think he deserved more recognition for that role as well. And I just, Joe, I don't know if you were as high on that game as I was. I can't remember.
No, it was going to be. So I think where the game sours for me, it goes in a little bit of spoilers. Okay. But it's towards the end. And then when you really think about the game itself, like, oh, you get to kill anybody the way you want. Not really. So the more I thought about it, the more sour I kind of became of it off my initial impressions, because like Hitman is the thing that I was kind of going head to head with in terms of like level design and doing the things you want. And I think just Hitman does that better. And there's some story beats that are incredibly predictable, but then take a left turn to, I don't like that. This just seemed like you needed it out.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still a stellar game. You should play it, and it's worth, the monies for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought Death's Door was fantastic.
Yeah, it's up on a lot of people's lists as well.
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't finish it. I'm like, I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. So it's one of those I need to go back to. We say this all the time, right? I need to go back to it, but it's a lot of times it's so hard going back to a game that you're separated from for months. You know what I mean? It just, you lose kind of that, I don't know, that you lose something along the way where it's like, it doesn't feel the same going back to it. So maybe I will, I hope I do, but yeah, I never finished it.
Also, Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
A lot of people loving that one.
I didn't play it.
So good.
You know what I want you to do for me at some point, Joe?
Yeah, please.
Play like the first level of the gunk for me and tell me if they're in any way, shape, or form comparable. Because I was playing the gunk and I was like, I wonder if this is Xbox's Kena, where everyone loves it. And then I found out I was in the not majority, that it's polarizing.
It's just like, the thing is, there are definitely aspects of Kena that they get wrong. Like the difficulty scale is actually, I'm surprised they didn't fix it yet, because like some of the fights are just not fair, and the boss tells aren't clear enough and do way too much damage. But nonetheless, this is a studio first, and this is their first game ever, and they really did hit this in between AA, AAA game. That still felt rather indie. Ember Lab, man, a team of like 12 made this game, and it is really special. The story that they're telling as well is incredibly reminiscent of Majora's Mask, with a less somber tone, or dark tone, more somber. So I really, really dig this game. It's on sale as well. This is now like I get into my fanboy territory where I'm just like, Sony, look at this studio. Look at what it's just done in its first game. Go on.
That's how I felt about Moon Studios for Xbox too.
Yeah.
Like I thought they should have picked up Moon a while ago, but apparently Moon wants to stay independent. Some of those companies just don't want to be acquired, Yeah.
But Phil Spencer is my best friend, and he will try.
I'm looking up Kena right now because it's one I did want to pick up once it comes down a bit, because I'm old and want physical.
Yeah, I think it was like 20% off. This is on PS.
You're talking about digital though, yeah. So you can get the deluxe edition for $50, so it still hasn't. It's not on sale. I'll get it eventually.
All right, boys. To close out the show, tell me 2 things you want to accomplish with your podcast next year. Since we are a cast.
Ooh.
About cast. Or are we talking about okay? Because on cast, I could just say I'm looking for 2 new co-hosts. So if anyone knows anyone,
I'm looking for work.
Joe, you probably I know you focus on those types of things for Trophy Room a lot. So you're probably more prepared for that statement than I am with the cast.
Yeah, man. Kyle and I literally got off like an hour-long conversation, like a post-production of the year that's been. First off, I do want to thank sincerely everybody who is liked and shared, which you should right now. If you're listening on Spotify, you have the app. Rate all of our podcasts 5 stars. It really does help us get highlighted and spotlighted. And it really just propels us. No, the thing that 2 things I'm looking to do for the podcast is maintain. We've done really well this year, and we keep doubling the audience every year. So I just want to maintain that momentum while keeping the spirit of our show. As we get bigger and a little bit more popular, I really hopefully maintain that clear and concise message that we've been pretty on bar with. And we really want to do something a bit different with the podcast as well, which I'm really excited to kind of talk more about that in the beginning of next year. But similar to what Luke does really well on XEP is we want to have people that work in this field, this industry, but more along just strictly PlayStation end of, you know, I want to know how something works. Let's get a person that works on that to literally talk to us about the process. So if there's like a voice actor of like, how did you hit that moment in this game? I want them to kind of uncover it rather than going like, so how did you get in this industry? And like, what can I do to help get in? It is more like, hey, level design. How does that work? Type of deal. So, yeah, that's kind of what we're looking forward to do into 2022 is really that and get noticed by PlayStation. It's about goddamn time.
It is about time. And I told you before, like, you know, we got some recognition this year at Season Gaming, which was nice. It's not everything we want. It never will be, right? There's always more to get. But that was really nice. And more than anything, I was going to tell you guys on this show, so I might as well just say it now, that more than anything, we've talked offline a lot about this. But I really hope that XEP and Trophy Room get proper recognition from their respective kind of fathers, if you will, in Xbox and PlayStation. Yeah. Because it's deserved on both accounts. And we've ranted to each other privately plenty of times about other things that get recognition that shouldn't, you know, and it's exhausting when you really put in a lot of effort to make a quality kind of good show or content in general. And I hope that happens for you guys next year for sure, or more of that happens next year for sure, because it's not like it hasn't happened at all, right? Like, yeah. You guys both have had good recognition, but I think you deserve more.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And likewise, because like the one thing I think we can all agree on is we don't do the clickbaity nonsense garbage.
To my own detriment.
Yeah.
To all of our detriment. Yeah. And in a way, you know, to answer your question, Luke, I think so. You know, for me, it's a little bit different because I look at it goals for 2022 more holistically from an outlet perspective. So there are things I actually talked to Travis and Dan the other day about things we want to do in 2022 for Bitcast to continue to evolve it. I just like I like the show we do, but it's not where I want it to be. And I know anyone who does a podcast probably has felt that way many times over, but that's how I feel about Bitcast right now. And I think we can do more and better, if that makes sense. But I think for the outlet, we're definitely looking at doing some bigger things. I actually, and Joe, I'm going to talk to you offline, but I'm actually considering moving Season Gaming to a Patreon and figuring out how to continue to grow Season Gaming and grow the content and make content more, just more content, right? More quantity, but also be more rewarding for people who really want to support us. Because it feels like we have this kind of niche group that is ultra supportive of everything we do. And I feel there's probably better ways to reward them as well. So we're looking at ways to do that. And then grow the channel as well. We had a lot of good growth on the channel this year, which is kind of surprising because, you know, outside of doing these shows, I do some collectibles and stuff, but I'm not that guy that does that weekly video, right? of Phil Spencer's freaking face or, you know, some emoji. And I just, you know, I'm never going to be that because I don't want to be
PlayStation's dead in 2022.
Yeah, dead man walking.
That's right.
So we're not that, but I think we can offer more content on the channel, more content on the site that kind of maintains what we're trying to do there. So that's what I'm looking forward to next year.
That's the goddamn tango of like, hey, how do I make something that's clickable that's not clickbaity? And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but it's always the lessons learned. And
yeah, it's funny because people were asking, like, I've had a couple people reach out around how we're continuing the game subs, and they're like, but your shows do hundreds of views, not thousands or tens of thousands, right? And I was like, yeah, that's true. But if you look at some of the other videos we do of other things, like our Elite, for instance, our Elite 2 controller long-term review, that has over 200,000 views.
Yeah.
You know, there's other stuff on our channel that we do. Like some of my statue reviews have over 10,000 views, whereas our weekly shows. So it's just a mix of
something?
things. Sure.
One sec. Maybe this is anybody can gain out of this. The one thing that I felt the most freeing doing was I stopped looking at YouTube as this is where I'm going to gain my growth. When I made the cognitive choice of my show is on Apple and Spotify, I'm going to just do that. And then like YouTube, I can't even tell you the views of any of my YouTube videos. I don't know. That's how little I care. Is helped my show dramatically. And that's the only like bit of not even advice, just things that I did. Because to me, it wasn't helping my like mental place. I don't know.
Yeah.
that word.
But I think what you're saying is because you guys focus purely on being a podcast and podcast first, outside of YouTube, that's really helped you narrow in and be kind of to the point of what you guys are hoping to achieve. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much. And to anybody making content, it is not about subscribers or like followers. It's literally about engagement. So like the beautiful thing about like Season Gaming is like you got this awesome community. And once people dip their toes into this community, that's how you actually gain that following, because everybody feels like a big happy family because they should. You know?
Great.
Nice. Awesome, guys. Very cool.
So Luke, you didn't speak
Luke's
for
a piece of shit.
Thank you. I think the way you put it in is getting on Dad's radar kind of thing. Across 113 episodes, I feel like my growth is kind of plateaued. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to grow in the right way, to reach more people. Being a solo show that does interviews is also a weird thing for not everyone wants to it's not like a banter show, right? Where you're not like having dialogue with anybody. So there's that element that is interesting to try and navigate. But in the hopes of trying to get on Xbox's radar, I think that opens up to what I enjoy most about XCP, which is doing interviews. And the idea that I could talk to developers at first-party studios would be really exciting for me. I mean, I just got to interview Osama Dorius, and the guy's the senior game designer for Gotham Knights. That is my most anticipated.
He seems really cool too.
He is very cool. And like, that's my most anticipated game of next year. The idea that I could talk to the people that work on Halo or work on Forza and Gears, like that is a goal of mine, is to talk to people that create the games that I genuinely love most. So that's why I'd like to be on their radar, to open myself up to those interview opportunities, because I just enjoy talking to people about the art they create. And some of the art they create is locked behind that first party wall, which is a little bit different to get into in North America on Xbox, at least.
It's funny you said North America. It made me think, you just need to move to Canada, man.
What I meant to say was American.
US.
You know, because Xbox Canada seems to open up a lot of doors for some incredible creators. I don't see that happening for the American
side. Much
side.
harder in America.
It's because like the thing said is like if you make it here, you make it everywhere. Like that sadly holds true, I guess. Yeah, because it is frustrating, and that's the one thing that if I may give you praise for a second, like I hate doing it, but like you're probably
I'll end the broadcast so
no
one else sees it.
Keep cast that co-op. You're probably the best like Xbox person out there. Like your show's probably the most informative. It's literally the best reviews. Or sorry, interviews. Your views are garbage, but your interviews are stellar, and that's literally you are the inspiration of like, you know what? I need to talk to more game designers. I need to talk to more voice actors because I'm tired of taking guesses of why things move the way they do, and I'd rather get it from the source. And you are straight up the inspiration for all that. So like, if you're not listening to Luke's show, what is wrong with you? Go ahead, do it.
Thanks, man. That
You
is
might
really
regret
nice of you to say. It's really nice of you to say.
You
Thank
might
you.
regret it.
Put that on the back of the box. XCP, you might regret it.
That's good. That was good.
Now you know how to rebrand, Luke.
Yeah.
There we
Got
are.
it.
Here we
Nailed
are.
it. There's your
Here we are.
catchphrase. You might regret it.
Nice. I'll find you.
All
All right,
What's the
Joe.
other thing, though, bud?
Oh, the other thing. I think it kind of there's the growth element that opens the
Right.
doors. So that's kind of how I was thinking of it. But I will say one thing, my favorite thing about XEPs, apart from like the process of making it, is getting to interact with people that are genuinely interested in talking about games. I met Seasoned Gaming and the people there through XEP, and getting to meet cooler people in other communities is really neat. So I hope to do more of that, I think, next year.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well,
I just thought of a much better name for myself, and it came right at the end of the show.
the old one.
Old one. Yeah. Yeah. In the next episode, we'll check in on Ains's ribs. Which he hurt.
It sucks.
playing a game
It
for
sucks.
Can I tell you that was the
It
best rib I
sucks.
ever did? He's like, anybody have any tips? I hurt my back. Yeah, jump in a time machine.
Oh, if I could.
I know.
It sucks, man. It sucks. Like even laughing too hard or sneezing hurts.
I have broken my ribs before. That is not a fun thing.
Sucks.
Because you feel fine and you're like, huh, and too much air in your lungs, and you're like, oh.
You're like, oh, I'm good. And then as soon as you move the wrong way, it's like someone just stabbing you right in the side. Like, oh, God. Yep.
Well, everybody, yep, that's what you look forward to when you go older. That and more debt. Anybody, anyway, keep casting co-op.